Hi, I'm Ken Natorp. I'm 80 years old and I'm still working.
Hey there. Welcome to the Redirect Podcast. This is where we dive into real conversations, share stories, and just hang out talking about finding our purpose in retirement. We're glad you're along for the ride, and let's get into it. Gentlemen, welcome again to another day in the studio. Looking forward to today's conversation. This one should be a pretty easy question for both of you to kick things off and to really prime the pump on our conversation.
You have never asked an easy question.
Oh, this one's easy. This one's easy. Would you two, now that you've been out of your careers for a while, both of you, would you go back to work in the same industry?
No.
See, that was easy. I told you it was going to be easy.
And, for me, I loved what I did, and after selling the company, I stayed with them for another 7 years because I still loved doing that. Now, what I loved doing was telling stories, and the reason why I said no, I wouldn't go back and do that for big corporations. I'd do the same thing for smaller organizations or non-for-profits where anybody needed their stories built.
Well, I tweaked our question in our planning because I said in the same industry, which I want to ask a follow-up question. Would you go back to work in some for a paycheck? You're punching a clock, right? You're reporting for duty.
40 hours a week.
No, not necessarily. I'll let you choose the context. But would you go back to work for a paycheck, regardless of the industry? Either because of obviously, if you needed to, you would. But could you see yourself punching a clock again?
One of the biggest transition items that I've dealt with is this is the first time in my life I've ever not generated revenue. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're asking me, I don't need to go generate revenue. If would I commit to something? Our Redirect podcast has become kind of as close to
it's a
commitment as a job and not getting paid for as, anything I would agree to do right now.
Well, we are accepting sponsors. So how about you, Curt? Would you go back to work for a paycheck? Would you go to punch a clock somewhere?
To me, when I hear the phrase go back to work for a paycheck, means that all I'm going to work for is for money. Now, do I have enough money put away in order to have a beautiful, long-lasting retirement? I don't know. Okay? I don't know what tomorrow brings. I have done as best as I can do. I'm always looking for opportunities where I can make some more, as I call it, fun money. But I'm not going to work for money because I don't want that pressure thrown on me. I've done that all my life. And now I want to work for the enjoyment of working and being with people and experiencing and learning new things. And if money comes along, it's a byproduct. Now, Mr. Natorp is looking at me and saying, we can cut his pay in half now because...
Good.
But that's my answer. And it's... as soon as I put money at the top of the game, then I've got another idol than what I should be having in my life right now.
And I think you took my question very literally.
I'm a literal guy.
I know. The nature of just going and would you go back to work? Would you go punch the clock somewhere and letting that to be the totality of the question is an obvious yes for you because that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, what your reasoning is and your purpose behind it and what causes that and what you get out of it beyond the paycheck, obviously there's a lot more layers to that for you.
But the beauty of what I do at Natorp's is that the place is great, number one. The people are outstanding, number two. And number three is that they're willing to accommodate what I would like to work. So, this past season, I was only there just one day a week on Saturdays because I wanted to dedicate my time to the Redirect podcast and I didn't want to have a distraction. Coming up in the fall, I'm going to be there for 2 days, Thursdays and Saturdays, because I want to. Could I see myself going into work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 again? No, I have no desire to do that. I love the freedom that I have right now. I love the the opportunity to experience things that I'm experiencing right now. Now, things could change. Some sort of big thing could happen that disrupts what we've put away in the nest egg. And then I may have to go back to work. Well, then I suck it up and do. But do I want to? Not necessarily. I'm finding joy and pleasure in other things than that.
So you've referenced this Natorp fella a few times. Why don't you tell us a little about him?
I will, and I'm so honored to do so. Today's friend of the Redirect podcast is Ken Natorp, chairman of Natorp's Nursery Outlet in Mason, Ohio, which will be celebrating its 110 years of business in 2026.
Hear, hear.
Ken, at the age of 80, is actively engaged in the family business. The family business started back in 1916 when William A. Natorp, Ken's grandfather, a young horticulturist, left his home in Germany and traveled to Cincinnati. Looking for work, William placed an advertisement at a local florist shop soliciting his willingness to be hired for landscape work. That advertising seed grew into Natorp's landscape design, which plant quality was the number one focus. William Natorp's son, Merton, Ken's father, took over the family business and is credited with creating the first garden center in the Midwest in 1948, located in Kenwood, Ohio. Merton built a retail nursery presence and was a gardening pioneer who developed a people-oriented business through other people who possessed the ability to select the right people for the right job. After the passing of Ken's father, Ken continued his father's and grandfather's legacy in taking over the business, managing 5 garden centers and a wholesale nursery. In 2013, Natorp's Nursery Outlet launched a new-to-the-industry retail model, having a 3-acre retail outlet, 167 square feet.
167,000 square feet.
Bingo, yeah.
Size of about 3 football fields.
3 football fields. And is located on a farm in Mason, Ohio. Natorp's Nursery Outlet has become Cincinnati's retail destination for quality plants, a resource for residential and commercial landscape design, providing year-round online purchasing and offering exceptional customer service to all their valued customers. Ken and his wife Nancy have 2 sons who continue the tradition of the family business and are taking Natorp's to the next level. Kyle is the CEO and president, and Craig, vice president, managing landscape design. Ken, welcome to the Redirect podcast.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
So, this has been a part of your life, all of your life.
That's correct. My first job was when I was 11 years old, hoeing weeds in the nursery for 45 cents an hour. I got to work 3 days a week from 7 till 12 in the summertime.
Wow.
That was the start.
That was the start.
Yes.
And now, where you are now, where you work? How much are you working, and how much do you get paid?
It varies. It varies by the season. In the spring season, I'm working 7 days a week. Not necessarily 8 hours a day, but 7 days a week, and also in the fall about 7 days a week for a 7 week period. The rest of the year, I am working typically 5 day a week, but if something comes up I need to do or want to do, I take off.
Okay. So you've set boundaries.
That's correct.
And you've also, as I read up here, Kyle and Craig are becoming, are very big position holders within the company. How is that passing the baton, or that opportunity to empower your boys to continue on with the tradition like they are?
Well, approximately 20 years ago, it became obvious they were very interested in taking over more control. And at that point, I felt it was time to turn the business over to them. So we made that transition. I told them that I'd be willing to answer any questions, make comments and suggestions, but the final decisions were going to be theirs because it was going to be their business going forward. So we still meet every Friday for lunch together. That's gone on forever. But the 2 boys run the day-to-day operations, so I am not involved anymore in the hiring, the firing, discipline action, things like that, which I'm glad to be out of that part of the business.
Mm-hmm. And what is your role right now?
Right now, I guess two roles. I continue to handle any projects that my sons would like some help on. I typically handle customer relations. If there's a problem, I will go out and try and take care of that. I'm also very involved in the nursery outlet, which is our retail facility right now. So I will spend most of my time during the spring and the fall seasons in that business. Now, if we're having a real slow day, there's no reason for me to stay around. I'll go back to the office and do other things, or I'll go home and do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you ever see yourself stopping and just not going to Natorp's at all anymore?
Certain days I do, but overall not. I'm very blessed with the fact that I'm able to see my two sons almost every day, spend time with them. That's been something that's been going on forever, so I certainly enjoy that. I also have a vested interest in seeing that the company continues to be successful. My name is still on the company, so I have that interest. I'm also very interested that my two sons are successful, so any way that I can help them, I'm willing to do.
When I ended up selling my business, one of the things that I was relieved to not have to do is manage cash flow.
Correct.
I loved almost everything that I did, with the exception, and that's why I heard my wife is my COO, and she really ended up managing the finances, which is perfect for her. But when we started the conversation, you talked about when you were 11 and coming out. Switch gears a little bit here. When did you know that? You know what? I think this is my future.
I would say when I was a freshman in college, I knew that. And I think that was a real advantage because when I would take different classes, there were certain classes I would say, wow, I really see where this pertains to the business. And I would really get involved with it, ask questions. Where other subjects I say, I don't see where that's going to help the business. I probably wouldn't spend as much time on it.
So you were in college taking classes and you saw a natural application to how your family business had been running, or how you had participated in your older teenage years potentially, and you were able to make application to education in the business.
Yes, correct.
And that helped you decide, I want to pursue this.
No, I had decided I wanted to pursue it, but so that when I made that decision early in my freshman year, then I really paid attention to certain classes. I was a business graduate, and I paid attention to a lot of things in the management classes, some of the marketing classes. The sociology class I took, I probably didn't spend as much time on.
Yeah.
What do you bring from your grandfather into today's Natorps?
Well, my grandfather, I did not have as much day-to-day relationships with. He was in poor health when I really started getting into the business. But the one thing I noticed from him that he was got very involved from an early age in meeting people, joining clubs, making relationships. And I think that's one thing I really learned from him.
And your dad?
My dad, I would say I learned that he felt it was very important to find people that were smarter than him, knew more things about a particular job than he did, and his job was to manage them, but he wanted to give them the responsibility and the authority to do their work, and was not concerned with mistakes they made, as long as they didn't make that mistake again. In other words, mistakes were a learning process. As long as you learn from it, he was very good with that. And also, he treated his employees with a lot of respect. Those are the things I learned from him.
Now, Nancy, your wife, is working with you as well.
Correct.
She's involved with the business as well. Was your mom involved with the business?
No, my mom was not, and my wife was not when we first married, and she was interested, but I did not want her to be. I wanted her to be available at home for the two children. Early on, my schedule would be Saturdays and Sundays, some evenings. A lot of it was not as regular, but so I wanted her to be available. But she had kind of wanted to be in the business, but I discouraged it. And then about 13 years ago, when we came up with this new retail concept, my son asked my wife if she'd be interested in working, and she said yes, she would. And then what's very interesting is I learned what she must have gone through early on when I would come home from work and say, oh, you wouldn't believe what this employee did or what this customer did, and would go on and on. So didn't strike me at that time as any problem. But now that she's working and she comes home, she has to start talking about these problems. And I go, I don't want to hear it, but I realize what she went through early on.
That's funny. That's funny.
I think this will be a good time to take a quick break. If you're enjoying our show, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to comment. And if you like what you're hearing, leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback not only makes our day, but helps other listeners discover our content. Your support through listening, sharing, following, and reviewing means the world to us and helps our podcast grow. Thanks so much for being part of the Redirect family. So let's get back to our conversation. My wife and I worked together, and one of the things we laughed about before she came on, you know, she was the one that was home with the kids. We had 2 boys also. You know, and I would come home and go, oh, my God, you know, I just can't do this anymore. I need somebody to, I need a COO, you know. And finally he's like, you know, honey, you're perfect for this. And then she agreed. I don't know how she agreed. I offered her a lot of money. That's how I got her to do it, because all of a sudden we doubled our income by having both of us at work. And it wasn't me making all that money. I never told you guys that. But, yeah, it was a great way to be able to do it. Brought her on, paid her good money. You know, but all of a sudden she'd come, and our conversations were all about, and to my surprise, I'm just like, well, let's try to do something. Let's talk about something different, for crying out loud, because she was now coming home with the same issues that I had been doing for years. And I just kind of transferred them over to her. And now I had to kind of be the one to want to run away from those work conversations. So totally get that. And that's fascinating. But when you know, when it hit you in college that this was a path, same for your boys? Did they kind of always assume that they were going to be the ones coming into the business, or did you really push them to look at other things, or how did that work?
Well, never pushed them at all. Always hoped that. But my oldest son, Kyle, was extremely good in math and science, and everyone said, oh, you've got to be an engineer. Yeah. So he said, okay, and he went to Purdue. And after he was there for about 8 weeks, he called and said, I don't want to be an engineer. I said, oh, he says, I think I want to be in the family business. And my wife and I about fell off the chair there. So I said, okay, great. We'd love to have that happen, but I want you to finish the year. And then I think it would be wise that you transferred back to school in Cincinnati or Miami or Xavier, where you would make some connections with people you'd be working with. And so that's what happened.
Did he start as a loader?
No, he did not. We weren't doing that much loading then. He was working in a nursery also when he was in high school and that.
Imagine at a time when you were in the throes of you running the business, and when you were achieving the most fulfillment for yourself. Was that more so running the business from a businessman's perspective? Was it the retail customer facing, or was it dirt and plants that really got you out of bed when you were thriving the most in the business?
Well, first of all, I spent my first years in the landscape part of the operation, working with customers, and I really would get a lot of joy out of seeing a successful project completed. So that was the beginning of it. And then I had to get more involved in the nursery operation, and it was enjoyment to see things grow, which you started small, and after a few years, a little bigger, and that was kind of a good experience also.
The establishment was like watching a plant grow.
Correct.
Interesting.
I didn't realize that you work as much as you do right now. You explained that you're in there 5 days a week, 7 days a week, and you're doing things. I see you when I'm there. You're on the floor. You're working with customers, and that to me is just a tremendous statement in itself. I've brought many. Being a loader there, I greet people as they come on in, and I help direct them to where they want to go in the store. And then once they get done with their shopping experience, we then thank them for shopping with us, and then we help load up their vehicles so they can drive away and make that experience so special for them that they want to come back, they want to tell their friends, and it's authentic. We love what we do. And I've used Ken many times where people come in and say, "This is the first time I've ever been to Natorp's," and I'm like, "Follow me," and we're looking for shrubs, and he's always back in the shrubs or specialty tree area, and I say, "Well, here's Mr. Natorp," and all of a sudden they're like, "Mr. Natorp?" I'm like, "Yeah." No, oh my gosh. And I think that's tremendous that you are there on the floor working with the customers, loving what you do, and that to me is so cool. But then now hearing that you're involved with all kinds of other things that I was not aware of, and you're still going at it at 100 miles an hour.
Not 100, but
well, when you used to go 400 miles an hour.
And I would say there's a little ego involved being on the floor when customers come in, because how many times they say, "This is the greatest place. We enjoy this place. It's so nice. The help is so good." And that kind of pats me on the back a little bit. So I get a little bit out of that myself.
Well, but you fostered that.
Right.
I mean,
correct.
It goes back to your dad when you
Correct.
talk about people.
Right.
Right. And that's created what it is.
So did you consider, when you reached the typical retirement age, did you consider following the traditional retirement path of, hanging up the gardener gloves and hanging up the computer and stepping away from the business, and whether it be move to Florida or join a pickleball league or whatever it is, did you consider vacating the business when you reached retirement?
I would say when I was about 60 years of age, I started thinking about that and how was I going to retire, and gave the thought to, well, okay, next year I'll work 4 days a week, and next day 3 days a week, and
Yeah.
and then I'd play golf every day, and that never materialized. My interest changed a little bit.
How so?
Well, when we started this new operation, this nursery outlet, that was kind of exciting, and I got involved in that quite a bit. And again, playing golf every day and things, and all of a sudden I had some grandkids, and I was very lucky that they lived right next door, so I got to see them, be involved every day, and so I enjoyed being around them very much too, so not just going out and playing golf or going somewhere.
Can I ask a question about the outlet? I mean, it's unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great place. It's a destination, as I said in the bio. But you had a model beforehand that was 5 stores.
Correct. At one time, we had 5 retail stores, and the garden store business is a very seasonal business. Most people don't realize that, but to give you an idea, in Mother's Day weekend in retail garden store is always the biggest weekend of the year.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
It's Christmas. It's
And-
Black Friday, baby.
And to give you an idea, on a Mother's Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if we had a good weekend, we would do as much business in those 3 days as we would do in January, February, August, November, and December. All those months, we'd do more business in those 3 days. Wow. So we had a problem. Anybody could make money in the garden store business in March, April, and May. Anyone can do that. And there is some business in the fall, but most retail garden stores are struggling the rest of the year to try and hold on to the money they made. And we were trying to find out what we could do different. And we considered, let's close the stores down in the summertime. Well, that sounds good at first until you start looking at, okay, so I've got help. What am I going to do with the help?
Right.
We've got plants at the store. We've got to take care of those plants. And the plants, when you take a plant to the garden store, it's in best condition that first day. It slowly goes downhill. So we're taking care of the plants. There's no customers coming in, and we couldn't figure out how to make that work. And so we had actually gotten down to 2 garden stores at one time, and then we decided let's try this deal where we're only open during the time when people really buy plants. And we were lucky that we had a facility at our nursery which we could do that, and it made it much easier. For in the old days, if we had a real good Saturday at one of our garden stores, we couldn't get plants to them for Sunday. Well, that is no longer a problem now. The plants are right there, so we can always be stocked up. So there's just been a lot of things that have worked very well for us. It's not a model that many people can copy because you need a nursery to begin with. In this case, we already had a building built, and those combinations would be very expensive just to go out and do on your own.
You had the infrastructure in place already.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So, as you know, our whole concept here is finding purpose in retirement. You're not retired, and there's people out there that don't want to retire, using the coin of retiring. But I think that, as we've sort of mentioned here a couple of times, you have to sort of monitor yourself and let go of some things, as you've done with your boys, taking over responsibility. You're still involved to a degree, but maybe, I'm sure you probably still have the final say, or maybe not. How did you create those situations in you that you're back, you're letting go, so to speak, but you're empowering your boys to take it to the next place?
Well, a couple things. Number one, if it was not a family business, I don't think I'd still be working. I mean, that's the key to being able to see my sons every day has really been great. And I grew up that way with seeing my father every day going to work. So if it wasn't a family business, I don't think I'd still be working.
Okay, so the legacy thing is big too.
Correct.
Correct. It's been there forever,
Right.
and you're part of it. Your name's on the door, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then as far as final decisions, I would say no. When I turned things over to my 2 sons, I said, I will give you advice, voice my opinion, but you 2 are going to make the final decisions, because going forward, you're the ones that are going to be running the business and be responsible for everything.
How easy was that for you to maintain accuracy in that? Like, hey, a decision's being made. I've given my opinion. I need to just let this run its course. And part 2, how well did they receive and maintain that objective?
Well, I think in my standpoint, it's worked very good. There's been a few times I said, gee, I wouldn't have done it that way. But
Natural.
But I think they were ready to jump right on board on that.
And they were able to receive your advice and then go make a decision that might be counter to that advice, and everybody got along well.
Correct. We've been very fortunate that way.
That's a blessing.
And I think the other thing has worked good and bad is I have a tendency to try and make lots of suggestions. Have you considered this? And sometimes at work, I will tell some of the employees, I said, when you get chance, why don't we do this? And unfortunately, sometimes because it's coming from me, they think that means do it right now. And no, that was not my idea. My idea is, hey, when you get a chance, let's do this. Right. And so sometimes my sons will say, why were they doing that? We had all this other work to be doing. And I said, I didn't tell them to do it. I said, when you have a chance. So occasionally that causes a little problem.
In this business that you're in, and I love the thought that you guys made a big change that really turned everything around, certainly for you. Is there another one coming? Do you see in this industry another potential change you're gonna stick around for this one for another 10 years? Does the industry, is it open to more change?
Well, I think what we're doing can survive for a long time.
Okay.
But the industry for many years when I was first getting in the industry was slow to change, but I think that has rapidly changed. Things are changing faster now. But we're talking about our retail business. Actually, our biggest business is our wholesale business. Our nursery that we grow. We sell plants to all different garden stores, landscapers, the municipalities. We serve Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Lexington, Louisville, Columbus. And in the last few years, we've been moving into the Pittsburgh area and the Detroit area with selling plants. And that is actually the biggest part of our business.
And all of those are serviced out of Mason, Ohio? Or do you have other?
Well, we have another nursery in Lebanon that we strictly grow on, and then we're owners of a nursery down in Tennessee where we grow a lot of plants.
Nice.
That's great. So I've made my career was about talking with companies and their story and bringing them to life. If you gave me a wall in your store and I was to put up kind of what you thought the legacy of Natorp's is, and this is a tough question because I'm asking you coldly, but what would you want to see up there? What are the words that talk about the success of Natorp or your commitment to, customers that are coming in?
Considerate of your grandfather and your grandson.
Right.
I don't know if words are the right thing. I think maybe pictures to show some of the growing facilities, to show some of the landscape projects we've done would show it more.
Wow.
And then just the history of the length of time. So we've got some great pictures of all these old trucks, and I've got pictures of our nursery out on Mason Montgomery Road where it was a 2-lane road, and now it's a 6-lane road, and shopping centers all over the place to see some of the things that have changed.
Yeah, I think people find that fascinating. Yep. I mean, I really do, and I think it just speaks the legacy. It just all of a sudden says, we aren't somebody that just popped up. We have a history that goes back, a commitment to our suppliers, our customers. That is really, really cool.
So the folks that are listening to you right now are either contemplating retirement or enjoying it. Do you have any insight, advice, or words of wisdom for those folks?
Yes. I mentioned earlier, I don't think I would still be working if it was not a family business, but I think I would be looking for things to do part-time jobs that I could enjoy. But I don't want to be committed 40 hours a week, 9 to 5. But if it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesdays, or certain times a year, then I'd be interested. But I'd only be interested in doing something that I enjoyed being involved with.
You'd stay active.
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
I mean, we talk to people that have had their own business, and it's tough for them to let go. And they may not have the support system that you have, which I imagine, the grandchildren are probably going to be coming into the business too. I'm making that assumption. Maybe I'm off base there, but Craig's kids are going to come on into the business potentially, right? What advice would you give to a person like yourself, CEO of a company, president of a company that is working and is scared to step away from it and is the passion aspect? I think you've got this, you've got dirt running through your veins that you're a unique individual, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And there are people out there that struggle, that say, I can't retire because I don't know what I'll do. How can they make their job last longer but still enjoy the freedom of a retirement aspect, which I think you and Nancy are doing by your place in Colorado, and you go skiing and you cycle, and I think you play golf, and you're finding time to get things in. What advice can you give them that you've managed it?
Well, I guess I would, if I was working for a business, I would be looking for how can I slow down, still be involved in the business, but relinquish a lot of my management responsibilities, but still help the business. But maybe I only want to work 3 days a week, and what can we do to arrange for that?
Awesome. That's great.
Well, I again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and visit with us, and thank you for the opportunity to work at Natorp's.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you there, Curt.
I enjoy.
Don't forget, you can cut his pay.
That's right.
No, but seriously, those of you that are listening, if you haven't had a chance to stop out in Mason, Ohio on Snyder Road to check out Natorp's Nursery, you need to do it. It's a great place. They offer tremendous product. The people there are fantastic. And that's another light of this, is that, you know, I work out front in the Loader area, which is a lot of high school and college kids and that type of stuff. And it's sort of fun to work with that age group and teach them responsibility and things like that and be aware and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the people that you have working at Natorp's on the retail floor and in the cashier area are people that are older in age.
Correct.
And they found purpose by working there and enjoying the benefits of being active, having purpose, getting up in the morning and doing something. Let it be to get a paycheck or just to be involved with the experience. And that is always something that's amazing to me when you look around and you see more people with gray hair than you do with non-gray hair.
Well, a lot of those people are also working part-time, and we try and make it so, all right, what's part-time to you? Okay, not what's part-time to us. And that gets to be a problem at times, but as I keep telling my wife, they're there because they want to work part-time. We don't want them there every day because that's not what they want. So, and then we also try and treat them well, and Ron Wilson, who handled our retail for years, is always saying, you know, let's have fun.
Yeah.
So we try and have fun when we're working.
Yeah.
Wasn't he on the radio?
Yes, still is. Yep.
Still is.
Yep.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But, you know, it's a family business. I feel a part of that family, and I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of that family, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks for joining us on the Redirect Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Redirect Podcast. We would like to thank the University of Cincinnati 1819 Innovation Hub for allowing us to record our episodes at the eSports Innovation Lab recording studio. Don't forget to tell your friends about the Redirect Podcast and have them follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Instagram. Want more information? Do you have a question for Curt, Dale, or Adam? Or would you like us to consider a topic that interests you for a future podcast? Send us an email at info@redirect-u.com. Remember, the journey isn't over. It's just redirected. There's purpose in your life. Find it and do something about it.